Well, coming up next is a really interesting and engaging panel discussion on a subject close to Grizity's heart, marketing technology. And we have an incredible panel of speakers to talk about this. Again, some of the best marketing leaders in the business. So allow me to introduce you to the moderator for this panel discussion, our Senior Technical Manager, Rahul Sidmani. With over 16 years of experience working in the information technology products and services industry, Rahul is a Marketo certified fellow and is highly accomplished at translating complex business challenges and strategies into innovative, efficient, and reliable technical solutions that enable customer success. He's skilled in several facets of technology, be it product lifecycle management, marketing automation, enterprise software, mobile applications, or even agile methodologies. So here's Rahul with our second panel discussion, Marketing Tech and the Value It Brings. Over to you, Rahul.
Thanks, Akanksha. Hi, everyone. I hope you all are having as great time as all we are. And the last few sessions have been extremely insightful, to say the least. We got a bundle of good speakers and panelists sharing their thoughts. So primarily the ideas that we covered were the evolution of marketing, the importance of personalization, and investing the right to become the more agile. So now it's time to switch the gaze to another single most essential component of today's marketing era. So we all are 2020 was kind of a roller coaster for many of us, and it was totally kind of a virtual world, and work virtually was a new normal for all of us. And it was kind of a major setback for the economy as well. But that being said, the economy is now healing, and so are the strategies of the companies have revamping the marketing strategies as well. So now that we have talked about the strategies that we can put in place to this post-pandemic world to successfully market the things, let's deep dive into another incredible element, or I should say one of the most critical elements of modern marketing, marketing technology, or MarTech, some of us love us to call that. So it's kind of a blend of marketing and technology. When both goes and hand in hand, it can do wonders. So MarTech has undoubtedly been a catalyst for the growth and stability of many of the organizations throughout the pandemic, because at the end, it was because of the technology only that everyone was still connected, being virtual. So that being said, no matter whatsoever the budget is, you obviously want to look at tech stack that serves the purpose of your main marketing goals, doesn't burn a hole in your pocket, so kind of it should be cost saving, and then it should be convenient to use, because we don't want to throw something complicated or complex kind of software to your team. So the focus is just to increase the productivity. So at the end of the day, before choosing any of the platforms, UI and UX are the two primary ingredients that needs to be considered before finalizing any of the platforms. And finally, you should be able to get a good ROI as we are investing into it. So that being said, to talk more about this, we have an incredible panel of some of the best marketing leaders in the business and who comes with vast years of experience, and that too in multiple verticals. So please allow me to introduce them. So firstly, we have with us Hala Semo, the Director of Marketing Operations at ServiceMax. So she's a creative marketing program generalist with proven success in demand and lead generation. With diverse experience in marketing, Hala brings her incredible insight, experience, and knowledge when it comes to solving some of the most complex marketing challenges in the industry. She's an expert in devising robust sales and marketing strategies and is a marketing automation maestro. Thank you for joining us today, Hala. Nice to have you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thanks. So then we have with us Corey Bayless, the marketing automation manager at Amazon Web Services. So one of the Grizity's oldest clients, in fact, as well. So he's an expert at using marketing technology to create engaging marketing programs. Corey is Marketo certified as well, and so am I as well. So I can feel the efforts to get certified. And actually, it is now Marketo engaged business practitioner since Adobe acquired the Marketo. That being said, he has experience of working directly with numerous market instances. His creative force, combined with his digital marketing and technical expertise, equips him to dive deep into the code and data analytics to bring forth quick real-time solutions that help customers. He leverages his technical strength to implement some of the Marketo's most technically advanced features at an enterprise scale and solve many complex obstacles that can impact server and client's head code. See, we got a techie guy in the panel today. So thanks for being here, Kuri.
Hey,
finally.
Thanks. Yeah, there we go. Technology, right?
It was just keyboard reading and rotating. Thanks for being there, finally. Then, at last, but definitely not the least, we have got with us Lincoln Hirschberger, so the CMO of marketing at Bevy. So this fantastic platform that we are hosting the event on. So Lincoln is creative and strategic business leader with a proven track record of in building great teams, creating brand strategies, and remarkable go-to-market campaigns. With over a decade of experience in marketing, Lincoln's ability to translate insights, product information, and data into robust business strategies is what sets him apart. Being a strategic thinker, he has his finger on the pulse of his target audience, which helps him in deliver incredible results. So nice to have you, Lincoln, and thanks for this awesome platform which has made such events possible virtually. I hope you're connecting. I think we still can't see you. Oh, finally.
No, it's me, Rahul. Not what you were expecting, but I think Lincoln's having some trouble joining in. How about we just get started without him and he'll join in and we'll try to contact him backstage.
No worries. We'll wait for that. Cool. So let's deep dive further into the session, that is marketing tech and the value it brings. So as the company grows, so as the MarTech stack grows as well along with that. So it often comes to a point, you can say kind of a saturation point, where it becomes difficult to manage effectively and efficiently all the associated component and platforms. So lack of centralized approach seems missing here. I was reading an article the other day where it says like marketers are using 58% of the total MarTech stack available, which means that many companies are not using the stack to its full capacity or potential. And the other highlight was like at least there are 100 different products that are being used by the companies which are doing kind of revenue of $1 million plus in order to acquire, engage, retain, and support the customer experience. So that's way high. And with that many sources, I think it's so easy to get lost in complexity. So my question will be here to Hala. Why do you think MarTech stack bloats? What are the most common reasons for it?
And you're saying, so I wanted to start us off with answering, that question really and looking at the marketing technology landscape. So Rahul, if you can confirm you're seeing the landscape, not my other screen, that would be really good. Essentially, I mean, there's a lot of technology out there. And so, for as long as I remember, we've all seen this version of the infograph, whether it be from 2015, 16, 17, but this latest one that you see is from April 2020. The reason why marketing technology tends to bloat very easily is because, we have a lot of problems as marketers that we're looking to solve. We have a lot of pain points, and in midst of that, over the years, technology has evolved and it's growing at a rapid pace to actually exponential pace in which we're not able to catch up to assess what's out there and what's fruitful to being mapped into our key objectives as marketing objectives and as corporate company-wide objectives. And so oftentimes what we tend to notice is that these vendors are marketing to marketers. And it speaks to certain pain points, and we're not really looking at the bigger picture. And so rather than speaking to particular pain points and we react, right? We naturally react in essence to solve a particular problem when we're needing to kind of step away and look at it from a bigger picture. And so as a company or as a marketing function, what do we need to do? Key objectives that we might want to review are, what are key objectives? Examples would be increasing sales conversions or increasing lead to funnel conversions. And so what are the platforms we're typically looking to kind of speak to? So within the evolution that we look towards, we're also kind of finding ourselves with a huge list of technologies that we're kind of jumping straight to. Rather than looking at the bigger picture, we're bringing on technology to solve a particular pain point. So in my opinion, marketing technology, and again, from my experience, I've been in smaller companies and bigger companies, but when there is a successful marketing technology stack, it typically is comprised of three things: people, process, and technology. You can't have one without the other for it to be truly successful. And so, again, and the reason why that is if you are going to your various functions, whether it's cross departments, cross functions, and you're having these conversations, your criteria based on your core influencers and your core people who will make that impact, right? You're putting together processes so that you're looking at your existing infrastructure, you're looking at existing setups and technologies out there and assessing this technology speaking on behalf of this objective. So you're looking at a year-wide maturation or roadmap or plan and assessing our key objectives of A, B, C are meeting the following. And in order for us to meet the following, we have to look at bringing in potential platforms that would solve it. Again, it's potential platforms is typically the way to look at the bigger picture versus a particular platform that we're jumping straight to. So that's kind of the issue that I've seen that, I've been a victim to when generally I start a different company, is that we jump straight to the technology without really answering what is the bigger picture. And so bloating typically occurs, again, because I might in events be solving one particular problem and I bring on a vendor, whereas another person in a different function is bringing on video. So could something in events and could something in video be brought in together? So if we kind of look outside of the bigger picture and plan forward versus reactively, emotionally jumping to a marketing tactic in which is speaking to our pain points, or again, it's a very reactional, emotional response versus more of a strategic take and an element of planning that we tend to forget oftentimes.
That's really great, like to showcase your thoughts in an analytical way. That's great to see. So Corey, you have something to add here, like what Hala has just mentioned?
Yeah, you guys can all hear me now?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right, cool. Yeah, I was, as Hala was talking, I actually looked up that what she just presented, and that landscape is exactly what MarTech feels like at this day and age, right? There are hundreds of thousands of platforms that solve all of your MarTech challenges, but some of them can only go half the distance, whereas others can go the full distance. And definitely one of the biggest challenges that I've seen with MarTech is there's actually no real good way to manage all of those integrations. In fact, that's one of the things that I've chimed in about, is that, believe it or not, one of the biggest technical debt issues that you can run into is called decoupling. And decoupling is where you're trying to remove a specific technology from your MarTech stack, but in order to do it, it costs your business thousands of hours to do it. And sometimes that configuration can actually be a security threat, right? So you have to do all of your research up front to fully understand what you're investing in. I'm looking at this chart again, and I see a lot of things that even just with a little bit of a Google search, you can probably solve that problem without having an integration need, right? Like SEO, for example. I mean, really, if you're looking at it from your organic perspectives, right? If you ever hear anyone say anything about SEO or they're SEO experts, it's like, okay, well, did you Google that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what comprises of an SEO expert? And so that's just a small, obviously, feature of it. But one of the biggest things that I've found that allows for you to control that bloat, right? That's what we're talking about, is that you don't lose sight of the configurations that you are including in your tech stack. Do not underestimate how quickly and out of control that can become when you start going into an omni-channel focus for a MarTech stack. So my recommendation is the enterprise control methodology, which is where you not only utilize all of the controls that are available on your MarTech stack, but you also have development involved in that process as you're building it out. And if you have all this money to invest in these MarTech stacks, you can get software engineers that aren't the best in the industry, but if they understand basic languages, they can solve a myriad of your issues without you having to invest in all of these different integrations.
Okay, cool. I think that really makes sense, and thanks for the insights. And finally, we have Lincoln in. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, sorry about that. Didn't mean to scare you.
No worries at all. We are now cheer faces now.
Yeah, totally. And thanks for the nice introduction.
Thanks, Lincoln. And anything like you have to add in here, like what just Hala and Corey mentioned about the marketing plot stack?
Yeah,
basically?
sure. Yeah, I think like Corey mentioned, what Hala shared is really interesting and very true. I think about the time that I spent in electronic arts, kind of early days when MarTech was sort of just getting started. And it's been so fascinating to see the explosive growth of all these platforms. So I think bloat, to me, in my experience, comes with sort of in some cases, an over-reliance on technology where you think you have to on board with a new piece of tech to solve everything, as opposed to just really getting into the tools that you do have and trying to figure out how to make them work more efficiently and effectively together. I feel like in a lot of situations, people just use 10, 20, 30% of the full kind of capabilities of a platform because there's just this kind of sense of we have to just keep adding and adding. And then that is a self-fulfilling prophecy of bloat, because then you need to bring on another piece of tech to make the existing tech stack work. So you're just kind of like Roblox, continuing to add more on top of everything. I think the other thing that I'm experiencing right now, I'm kind of at the other end of the spectrum working at a startup, which is amazing because we have an open canvas and we're kind of starting fresh. So we don't have that tech debt. We don't have a bloated infrastructure. But I'll already kind of see this happening as we start to scale and we bring new team members on. Different people have used different tech in their previous roles. So there's a tendency to, bring on some of those new tools to help new team members become proficient. And I think that having a team structure or a marketing tech manager is somebody who is, familiar with different tech stacks, who can create training and process for onboarding new people so that you don't have to just bring on a new tool, but you can educate and train new people with existing technology so that you don't have to continue to add more to it. So I think those are kind of the few key things that I've experienced that lead to bloat.
Yeah, and one thing that I also forgot to mention is, in overall planning, one thing that most of us don't make time for is utilization and adoption rate. And so if we're, doing a rollout and we've trained it and people are using it, but you're not really looking at utilization adoption rate, is that something that should continue to move forward for next year? Or should you continue to just be spending money for a tool that, to your perception it's being used, but you're not actively monitoring to see, is it live training that's needed additionally? Is it being adopted, or is the tool just kind of falling off because, again, not enough buy-in amongst different teams and functions that there's, essentially no good use for it? We initially had adhered to it, but then later decided to kind of keep it at the wayside.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I think internal collaboration is one of the key that matters, because there are multiple different systems, different departments. Every particular department or team has their own set of tools. And maybe the tool what we are looking for, maybe that tool is available with some of the other team as well. So I think internal collaboration is again the key over here.
Yeah,
so cool. I think that was kind of a blended thoughts from you and really insightful as well. and it seems like we are off to a great start as well. So cool. I'll move to the next topic then. That is the significance of MarTech integration. So as I just mentioned, like collaboration seems to be the key of marketing game. We all know that having a unified ecosystem is the thumb rule when it comes to marketing. And as it says, it takes a village, but sadly, integration has been kind of a pain point for many of the marketeers throughout the history of MarTech landscape, because there are multiple systems running in the background, but they are not either tied to each other, they are not working in conjunction, they are not in sync basically. So that being said, that's where the collaboration fails. So my question to you, Corey, here is, what do you think the marketing leaders should do to solve the complex integration situation with the ever-increasing number of tools and services available in the MarTech stack?
Simple, hire the right people. Basically, it's a loaded question, right? There is no simple answer to this question. But what I can say is there is a right way to do it and a very, very wrong way to do it. And marketing bloat is the wrong way to do it, because it's just like the same analogy. If I have Netflix, Prime, and all these video streaming services on my phone, and I pay for the premium subscription for all of them, that's money that's coming out of my wallet, right? That goes to something that I'm maybe not utilizing, in that 20 to 30% range, right? If you're paying for something, you want to be utilizing the service at least 80% of its capabilities. If you're not doing that, you're wasting money, like hands down, throwing away money. So the tools and services that you have available are determined beforehand. So Lincoln, you're in the best possible position ever. You are a solutions architect and you're getting ready to build your MarTech stack, right? And the biggest questions that you're going to have is, why do I need to do certain things versus others? What are the business objectives that I need to solve? And do I understand them as an architect, or do I need resources that help support my architecting skills, right? And that is where I am basically going to take this year to preach how important it is for a marketing architect, a systems architect, kind of like myself, to have integrated development resources available when you're doing the initial implementation. If you have money to buy all of these MarTech companies and these softwares, you also have the ability to incorporate even a small technical team. And we're just talking about reading documentation. It's no more than just literally diving into the documentation, having somebody who has that technical awareness to provide the answers, right? So I have this rule of thumb, right? In order to go to enterprise scale with MarTech, you have to overcome the UI obstacles with back-end automation and innovation. That's where that technical team comes in. Now, what does that mean? It's a very loaded question, right? But it's what I have done to be successful for the big companies that I have worked for and have seen. I mean, we're talking, like, when I say enterprise scale, I'm talking humongous. Like, I'm talking a level that you guys probably won't even a lot of my job is cleanup. It's not like, you know what I mean? I'm spending more time making sure that we don't get in trouble for all the laws that come into play than I am actually like working to build an ecosystem with all these different tech stacks that are being included, right? How important is that? Stop your company from getting in trouble for all the legal laws and 4% of your revenue for EU laws? That's no joke, right? You really have to put a precedence on ensuring that you have a standardized, repeatable core data process for any initiation of your stack. You have to protect your data, because that is the mother lode. That is where you are creating all of this value for your customers. So when you think of it, right, and you're in your early stages, you standardize, right? Create one form for 100 pages, not 100 forms for 100 pages, right? It seems simple, but oh my gosh, if you're careless about it, that downstream technical debt that is developed from that process is absolutely bonkers. Just to give you an idea, the last job I ran would have taken 900 manual hours to complete, right? So that puts you in a mindset of like, oh my gosh, that's 900 business hours. That's 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, or 5 days a week, I guess, if it's business hours, doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? That is literally the worst scenario you can ever be in. And if you don't have a technical team on hand that can help you understand how APIs and automation can be used to solve these problems, you fail, flat out fail. There's no coming back from it, because the burden, it's like a giant wall. It just comes directly at the team that owns the system, and they can never overcome these walls, and they come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. So you don't know what is going to come at you next, but I can tell you that integration early, and a MarTech professional just like me, or just like someone else who has a little bit of technical background, who can dive into and deliver user stories to a development team, can solve these problems using automation. But they have to know how an API works. You have to know how technology works in this day and age, and that's what separates your marketing architects versus the people who just have, maybe some experience on a simple platform, right? So what it really comes down to is the marketing automation systems architect tells the development team the what, the when, and the why. The development team shows the market automation expert the how using the API. That integration into that sprint planning allows for MarTech to give yourself enough time to be able to come over these obstacles. And the obstacles I face aren't going to be necessarily the obstacles that you're facing. It could be a completely different set of things that cause these problems, right? So you have to be putting yourself in that position and understanding the technical resources and understanding those integrations allow for you to more easily handle that downstream impact, because you've thought through all of those process integrations, data flows, and all of your CRM integrations and everything that you have that kind of comprises your entire marketing data flow, right? Because in the end, we're trying to supply the best leads, the warmest leads, the hottest leads to our salespeople so that they can create a customer engagement that you and I would be proud of, right? That's the key. That's what our marketing is doing. So that is how you sort of start to think about combating what is called technical debt. Technical debt is the worst, most awful thing on the face of the planet. And it literally gives you the ability just to play. Just meeting that bar gives you the ability to be in the landscape, right? If you don't meet that bar, you are falling behind. And if you fall behind, your company's toast. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. If you can't meet legal requirements, you will not be able to market, you will not be able to grow, and you will fail slowly. And that will happen. And so I preach, get technical resources inside the conversation as early as possible. Incorporate all brands of people, because everyone's going to have an opinion. But the people who have the best technical understanding are going to be the diamonds that allow for you to scale and allow for you to be successful and have a stable platform.
Corey, you're hired. Come work for us. We need you.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, it's so many things, right? Like, you really, I would say that's the most important thing that I've seen that can really help companies is allow their marketing professional like you, me, or Hala, who understand what your marketing automation systems do, why they do them, and why it's effective, and allow them to show the what. Why is this important? How does this hit me? How do I overcome this challenge before it becomes a critical business-facing failure? And if you can overcome those challenges, market automation systems will print you money. They literally, it's like a crank. You just do this and it just prints money, right? Like that's literally what a marketing automation system does. Anyway, yeah.
Cool. I had a couple things to add, but I'll let Hala.
Yeah, go for it. I was just going to say something to add there is, some companies will have a function. So there is a vetting process in which IT will take on systems and start vetting to see if there is potential overlaps and integrations and what are the systems and are they talking together. But the smaller you go, or as you go to mid-market and then more of the startups, that doesn't happen. And so you go functionally. Within even departments, they're siloed. And some of the key challenges I've had to kind of pioneer is I'm a GDPR advocate, right? So anything I do, in mind GDPR and data, because, and as being an automation tool owner for years and years on end, to me, that's a first flag. And a lot of people within different functions in marketing, they don't look at the bigger picture. And so they'll bring on a tool, they're doing customer communication. They'll bring on a tool and essentially focus to customer marketing, but they're not thinking, well, what about other platforms and systems that are, subscribing, retaining their subscription preferences, or if they've opted out, are the integrations speaking? So that's kind of a huge deal breaker for organizations that they really don't consider until they're built with a hefty fine. So that's kind of a key consideration there too.
Okay, thanks.
I wanted to add on that. I mean, is Corey, you're talking about the resources of the marketing tech team. Or even at a large organization like EA, like engineering is extremely critical, obviously, to building the product. So it's sort of like the cobbler's kids don't wear shoes, and the marketing team doesn't get any engineering resources. So you really have to fight for that to create that marketecture team. And I've found the best way to do that, you have to prove the business impact, which you kind of mentioned in terms of telling those user stories to engineering, why this is so important, because obviously we talk about marketing tech stack bloat. There's also development feature bloats from the engineering team in terms of the features that they want to build. So when you're trying to slot marketing tech features in to the core engineering team, they're going to get deprioritized. So, but it's also at the same time difficult to have your own engineering team for marketing. But if you can clearly prove that business value, and ideally those kind of features that you're building can also be shared by the core product team and given to external customers, that's something that we're doing in terms of running our own events on Bevy and building features in there that will be used by some of our external customers. So that's something that helps kind of prove that business value, and then moves it up the priority list for the engineering team until we can hire somebody like you, Corey, to actually join us and build that out.
So you can make demand publicly.
Yeah, so just to add to that, and absolutely right? The prioritization of the user stories, right? That is the key. It's why does so here's the difference between what technical stack or technical debt is and what feature design and product development is. Product development is like a sustainable, repeatable process that an engineer would work on. Technical debt is not that. Technical debt is a finite number of things that have to be solved for, and the computer, you can use compute to empower that change, that vision of, okay, here it is in the UI, all right, now I need to do this 1,000 times. Right? I do the same thing. If I'm repeating the process over and over and over again, I promise you, and your best in market automation systems will have the ability to do it, but you have to reframe the mindset of what a development team is capable of solving. This is where you're solving the ability to have control, know what you're going after, be able to show that you're able to make those changes, and then you create what is called a pocket knife of automation tools, which is what I call my little black box. But basically, like it is critical for the survival of that emerging small to medium size and then medium size and above. And I promise you, if you're in market automation, you know what I'm talking about. How many emails have you had? Even if it's 20 emails. Right? Even if it's 20 emails and you have to do something simple to it, if in your traditional MarTech stack, it will take you 10 minutes just to load one email, right? Look at all those hours you're just giving away. The company is just giving away to things that can be completely solved if you just think in a different way about it. That's literally how I have been successful in my career, is you just think differently. Don't think like a UI, right? A UI is designed for a marketer. Right? It's designed for somebody who is not technical, and can use a UI. But once you try to utilize that UI at an enterprise level, it no longer will work for your needs. You have to figure out a different way. And that even comes in medium size. That's not even just enterprise. That's like you are literally throwing hours away to something that literally will provide you zero value. It will not make you money. It just allows for you to be in the playground. Anyway, yeah. So there's a lot of conversation there.
Okay. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think because at the end of the day, the architecture matters, because I think we are very close to the agenda, because that's why we are here. Like when marketing is combined with technology, it can act as a superpower for us. So that being said, I'll move over to next topic, that is kind of a powering events with MarTech. So it's kind of a radical shift here. So till 2019, I would say it was kind of an era like wherein we were having the physical conferences, the trade shows, the events, and across the globe, and wherein like multiple companies are coming, they are showcasing their capabilities. Used to look some fancy and booths and some awesome counters as well. But India's footfall used to be huge in many of them, and I seriously miss that a lot. But all of a sudden, it came to a standstill because of COVID-19. And however, with the cancellation of in-person events, the demand of virtual events skyrocketed. And in such scenarios, event marketing platforms came as a savior for many of us. So I would say like we would have been in kind of a lost world instead of the virtual world if such kind of technologies would not have been there. So thanks to everyone who have made this possible. So just in relation to that, my next question is to Lincoln. So Lincoln, what do you think the marketeers should do to enhance event experience? What features are a must-have when it comes to choosing the right platform for a virtual event?
It's a great question. I think just in terms of the history that you outlined there, you know, when COVID first hit, obviously everything was in person, and then it had to flip quickly to virtual. So I think everybody, including us at Bevy, struggled initially to figure out just how do you host a virtual event? Like what are the basic features? And over the course of the year, I think a lot of people figured that out. And some of those features, you know, just getting the word out, registration, just simple things like, you know, a permalink in terms of you're not sending out all these different Zoom links, just so many basic things in terms of getting people into the event were solved. And so this year, what I think people are struggling with and looking to try to figure out is how to close that virtual engagement gap. Everybody recognizes that in-person events and connections are irreplaceable, but they're not possible right now. So virtual events have, to your point, been a lifesaver. And there's so many positives to them in terms of being able to reach a broader audience, people that might not be able to travel. But there is that kind of fatigue that everyone's feeling in terms of connecting on these video conferences. And especially when you don't know people, you don't have those kind of coffee chats, can't go out to lunch, no dinners, no like real meaningful engagement on the trade show floor booth, like connecting with other people. So the features that are most important, I think I would kind of bucket in the community bucket. To create community, I think a lot of people are basically realizing that the best way to close that virtual engagement gap is to turn your your Grazini audience into a community of people who are passionate about marketing tech, whether that's their business or that's their livelihood. And that sense of belonging in a community will solve a lot of your problems from a virtual event perspective in terms of getting those early registrations. Once you get to the 1,000, to the 2,000, to the 5,000, it's like then the next question is, are they going to show up? And so if you know who is going to be, who is in the community, if you have that sense of belonging, more people will sign up, more people will show up, and more people will be engaged. So asking questions in the Q&A, other features like networking tables, just being able to break out after a talk like this to connect with other people in either a trade show booth situation or a networking table situation. And then post-event, what happens after the event? So it's great. Okay, you hosted a 1,000-person conference. What next? Does everybody just disappear until the next conference? How do you keep those people engaged? And that's, again, where community comes into play. People here in this conference are from all over the world. So they're going to want to connect with other people in their own kind of local region. And when COVID starts to kind of disappear and people can meet in person again, the small in-person gatherings are the ones that are going to come back first in local cities and regions. So I think that is another consideration. Again, it's kind of a community aspect. Those small in-person gatherings connected globally in a virtual setting like this is what is going to be the future of hybrid that everyone's talking about now. So I think you have to select, you have to find virtual event tech that has all those basic virtual event tech features, gives you the opportunity to create that community, and then eventually start to build up those in-person events again once it's safe.
Rahul,
Sorry,
you're muted.
Sorry, thanks for that. So I was just sharing, like, thank you for that insight, Lincoln. And I think I would like to ask Hala and Corey as well. So what you guys typically look into for a platform when you want to host a marketing conference or any other virtual event, any kind of. So I think some key takeaways that you can just guide to our audience, like what exactly are the factors that you're primarily looking into?
Ultimately, for me, is user experience, ease of use, because based on the company size and who's taking on the ownership, it could be the events team who might lack the technical ability. So ops might take in the integration and create different templates and platforms for the configuration to be ultimately there. But the ease of use for somebody that isn't in a technology platform every day, going in and being trained on it on the upfront, but not having to go back to the training material every other hour. So definitely that's top of mind and key for me when I'm out there looking for platforms. In fact, I am kind of, I'm in, in vetting mode and stage right now and kind of seeing what's out there and what makes sense. So as well as just customization and branding. What is, again, going back to user experience, what does it look like for what's the look and feel, and what is the community bringing you? What about that platform brings in the community element versus just going on to Zoom? And is there ability to engage? Is there ability to do the bare minimum of engagement, polling? But really giving the ability for the attendees to not be less engaged and just listening in, but really getting that level of engagement and collaboration up versus kind of what we typically experience from a Zoom-like setting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything from your side?
Totally. Yeah. So Lincoln, totally agree with you on what you're saying about the community. It's 100% is like what gets people involved. Why do I care? How does this help me? And because that's what this world is. And people join communities when their assistance or support is provided. Marketo Champions 2020, like literally the embodiment of exactly what you just talked about. And then you couple that with a strong following. And you're going to start to see those attendance numbers start to skyrocket because people actually want to hear what you have to say, as opposed to you're just another webinar that's being hosted in a landscape just filled with people, filled with a digital first mentality. Look at YouTube. I mean, YouTube's a perfect example, right? Look how many people just literally just pump out content because it gets them views, right? So that actually makes it difficult for us. But it also gives us an advantage because we're trying to empower and create movement in the industry to improve it, right? And when you have that customer obsession, one of our leadership principles here, is that you want to make sure that the customer experience is the best, right? You want to provide all of those features and all of those tools. But before you even get to that point, let's go back. Let's take a step back, right? What are the most important features in any system or any integration that you're looking at? Number one, it has to be automated. Document your setup, document everything, remove the single point of failure immediately, no matter what platform you get on. You have to train. If you don't train correctly, it won't run efficiently, right? Number one. Number two, upfront setup is fine for any integration, but anything after that, any of the touches that come in, basically, if you have manual loads of lists that you have to do, every time there's a touch on the company side for that data to massage it or position it in a better place, it becomes less and less valuable. The faster that your data can flow through your system, the more valuable it is to the company, because you're not wasting time and you're getting the important people, the customer, to your sales operations faster, right? So it's better for you because you don't have tech that you have to deal with. It's better for your company because the data flows faster, and it's better for the customer because let's say it's a hot customer and they need your services immediately. Sales knows about it the day of, not 2 weeks later, right? Think of how quickly our brains functions and how fast, like the faster I am to my customer from a sales position, the quicker and the more likely I am to get a sale or to finish or finalize a deal.
Okay, cool. I think that was super interesting. And thank you for that.
Yes, sorry to.
Akanksha, you're ahead of schedule.
Yes, we are. Well, sorry to interject here, but I'm afraid that's all the time that we had. And as for the Q&A session that we had planned, let's just go back to our chat boxes. Let's move there. Let's have our audience's questions answered there. So thank you so much. Rahul, do you want to say thank you to everybody else?
I think maybe just a small request to the audience. If there are some questions, please feel free to post in the Q&A section. So we will love to answer that. And other than that, I think it was a very lively and interactive session. There are a lot much takeaways for every one of us. And Hala, Corey, Lincoln, I think thank you so much for being with us today. You all have been kind of an absolute delight to talk to today. And you have given so much to think about with these amazing insights, especially about the integration. And thank you for being here and being so incredible. And thanks to our audience as well for the listening and for the participation, because it's your presence that keeps us motivated to conduct such events on the global platforms. So stay connected, everyone. And thanks a ton. Over to you, Akanksha. Cheers.
Thank you, Rahul. That was super interesting. And thank you again, Hala, Corey, Lincoln, and you, Rahul. I'm sure all MarTech enthusiasts, such as myself, we're going back wiser today. Right? Thank you. All right.